I'm going to tell you. There's this really simple function. It's 2D physics. It's in the most basic function that every single game engine uses. And if you want to get more complicated about things, every single game engine uses this function as a first step to find out if something's collided. If it passes this function, you're good. No, there's no collision. If it fails it, it does a more advanced collision check. Now, all this function does is, it says, is the right side of my player intersecting with the left side of another object? And is the left side of my player intersecting with the right side of another object? If it isn't, that means we're on two different planes. I'm here, and it's somewhere else. But if it is in that same plane, it then says, okay, am I in the same Y space as well? Is my front intersecting with the back of his? And is my back intersecting with the front? Now, I'm really sorry for using the word intersecting, but all it means is just bashing into. I'm going to show you this in action. So, I'm going right, and he's stuck there. He's not going to move, even though I'm pressing right. I'm going to go again left. He's stuck there, not going to move. Whereas if I go over on top of him, I can continue going around him. The reason why this happens is, inside the animate function, just like we were doing before, where we were adding values on the X and the Y position, all I added was an if condition. And what I do is I call a function called can move. If it says true, that means I can move and I can add on that value. If it says no, that means I can't move and I won't add it on. And all that function can move does, it goes through my players array, the list of all the objects that I have in the world. If the object that I'm colliding with, or I'm testing, if the object that I'm testing isn't me, I then get its right position, its left position, its top position, its back position, and I do that if loop. If it collides, it will return false. If it doesn't, it will return true. If you want, I'm going to put this code up on GitHub, so you can take it, but it's awesome. Like, these lessons are for free. This is like the start. I know some of you have made some games in respect, but if you have never done a game before, you can make this, you can publish this on the internet, and your friends can be playing it like that. You don't need to go through any compilation, any linking, any deployment. And you can even play it on mobiles. It's insane. In the world of 10 years ago, there was lots of gatekeepers where you could not do this. You can even put in a PayPal thing, and if someone wants to pay you, you know, you might get rich. I don't know what's going on, but... Now, there is some more things to do. I'm going to tone it down on this section, unless you guys have questions, which we can go into that later. I'm going to enter in how to make this stuff multiplayer, because I think that's something that will be awesome for us to do. But in order to level up and to make an awesome game out of this, you're going to have to get into the world, if you want to do this, you're going to have to get in the world of loading 3D models. And there's some graphics packages like Blender, 3D Studio Max, Maya. And there's object formats called .obj, .fbx, .3ds. And they're just a bunch of data. If you do want to get into this world, you're going to have to figure out what the indexing of the data is and how to pump that data set into your WebGL context. But in the end, at the end of the day, all it is just a bunch of indices, a bunch of vertices, and a bunch of UVs. But it's just locked up in their proprietary format. Some of them are JSON, some of them are XML. FBX isn't, but don't worry. There's game engines for you to handle all this for you. But if you learn this stuff, it's going to be awesome. Let's breathe. Let's relax. Let's go. We're going to do some multiplayer stuff now. You guys excited? Has anyone here done any multiplayer games before? Get on the stage. Tell me about your game. What's the name of your game? Ace of Spades. Dude, that's like a rock song. And like, it's famous.
It's actually...
Woo!
It's a card game where you can, using JavaScript, define the rules of any card game using the standard 52 cards. And basically, when you define the rules, you can play it. Multiplayer, single player, anything.
Can I just clarify, because I don't know if you're trolling me or you're being genuine. Is this a video game or is it a real game with your friends?
It's a video game made in Java.
I wasn't sure. Can we download that? Do you want to advertise it? Shout it out?
Well, it's a bit buggy. Very buggy, especially the multiplayer part. Well,
have you considered going into sales?
This guy did it with me, and he's really ashamed because
Don't
it's
rope him
buggy.
into it. Okay, anyone else wants to embarrass themselves in this crowd? Okay, it's fine. Don't have to. We'll have a time to go over this later. Now, in the world of HTML5, just like I talked about WebGL, there's something else. It's called WebSockets and WebRTC. These two libraries, they're good, they're emergent, they allow you to go multiplayer, but the big problem with them is you can't really use them on mobiles because the awesome telecom operators, they hate multiplayer stuff and they hate persistent connections, so they constantly cut you off and they introduce delays. So if you're trying to go over 3G or Edge, you're in trouble. Maybe on the new 4G spectrum it could be more compatible, but it eats up a lot of battery life and you get a lot of problems if you enter this world. But the basic protocol, what it gives you is an API where you just say new WebSocket, you point it to wherever your server is. When you connect, it gives you a callback saying that we're now open, and you can send a message to the server. When the server receives that message, he can go ahead and propagate that message to a certain player, and he can send it back to you. We're going to go over this again, but it's going to be easier this time, because there's a popular multiplayer stack. Now, HTML5 and game dev, it's very new, and the good thing about HTML5 and game dev is it's an unexplored territory. You got companies like Google, you got companies like Microsoft, and you got companies like Google, and they haven't conquered HTML5. They don't know what to do with it. They're trying to explore it. And the good thing about this is you guys can conquer it. You guys can figure it out because there is no market. There is no one marketplace for HTML5 games right now. You guys can solve it. I mean, social networking was solved by Mark Zuckerberg, a teenager. PCs were solved by Bill Gates, a teenager at the time. You got Apple, their founder was a teenager. So this is a good time for you guys. You don't have to be teenagers, that's just optional if you're lucky. Now there's this popular multiplayer stack. I mean, this guy's a teenager, so maybe you can do it. Okay, popular multiplayer stack. This one is in an open source GitHub project. It was also talked through in a talk about 2 years ago in Google I/O. It's called Greats, and a lot of people use it as well. It uses a stack called MongoDB, Node.js, Socket.io, and you have your WebGL app. Has anyone heard of MongoDB before? One guy, okay. You don't need to know too much about it, but it's a database. And I know if you guys are looking into games, you probably hate databases. This one is kind of alright because, well, for rapid prototyping it's really nice because it supports JSON format. If you don't know what JSON format is, it's just a very easy way to just send in and out data. Reason why you need a database or some sort of file system is to persist your data. For example, if you have a high score table and I'm the high score, as soon as I reset that server, the high scores are lost unless you save that high score list onto your computer. That's why you need a database. Node.js, has anyone heard of Node.js? We got a couple of guys at Node.js now. Respect, that's awesome. I was programming in a language called JavaScript and I was doing it on the web. Node.js allows you to reuse JavaScript on the server. So just as easy and as quick as it was for me to make changes in this world, here where I'm draw player, I commented it out, I just hit refresh and it's gone. Just as easy as I can do that, you can do that now on the server side. You don't need to worry about deployment of Java servlets and all these like complicated archaic craziness. And PHP, I mean, it supports WebSockets now, but it's not really built for persistent connections. But Node.js is beautiful, and we're going to show you how to do that. And there's something called Socket.io. Now, I was complaining a bit about WebSockets before. Socket.io, there's other libraries. There's something called Socks.js, but all it is a wrapper library. It's got a really simple API, open, close, message, and it wraps WebSockets, it wraps Flash sockets, it wraps long polling So you pretty much don't need to worry about if your mobile phone supports it or not. It will just pick the best one for you. So it's very easy to get up and running quickly. So on your Node.js server,